So I'm thinking about abortion now, and for some reason it's on my mind. And I know that this issue has been discussed at great length on the internet. Probably I don't know where, I haven't looked yet. But the thing that's on my mind is wondering about life itself. So I'm wondering if the baby exists as a person, if you like, before it's born. So I believe it's the case currently that while the baby is in the womb, it's regarded as owned, if you like, by the mother, and that's why she can abort at will. And so the life of the baby isn't important, isn't independent until the baby is born, I believe. Which means that even if a baby is on his way out to the womb during the pregnancy, so during childbirth, if the baby is on its way out, the mother can possibly still abort the baby at that point. I don't know if that's true. So I'm wondering if there's a rule that says the baby can be aborted up until a certain number of weeks. I imagine that that would be in place. So let's say I think her pregnancy is 36 weeks. So let's say the mother wanted to abort the baby at 35 weeks, that wouldn't be allowed because it would be viewed that the baby can survive on its own. So the issue seems to be, can the baby support itself? And that's why there's a limit on the time you can have an abortion. But I'm still wondering how that can happen because we pick a point when the baby supposedly can support itself, as said at 30 weeks or whatever. And so any time before that is okay. But it still seems to me to be denying the child the right to life. I suppose it comes down to how the mother sees herself and how society sees the mother. It seems currently that society views the child as being essentially owned by the mother up until a certain number of weeks, when the child then becomes independent. It does seem a bit arbitrary to me. I'm thinking the day before, let's say 30 weeks, the mother can abort, but the next day she can't. That doesn't seem. It doesn't seem to be a good situation. So the question is, should the mother be regarded as the owner of the baby up until, let's say, 30 weeks? Or should the mother be regarded as a vassal with no rights over the child at all, independent from the child in that sense? She's a utility with no responsibility over the life of the child. My initial thoughts are that the baby should be regarded as independent from the mother from conception, and the mother should not be able to have an abortion. That seems more right to me. It seems more morally correct. I think the mother needs to decide ahead of time if she wants to have a baby. And she decides to have the baby, then that's it. She gives up austerity over the child. Now, obviously, there are huge issues with saying that, but as things stand at the moment, mother can smoke and drink without any issue while pregnant. She can take drugs. There's no limit on what the mother can do while pregnant with the child. Even if whatever she does harms the child, she's completely free to do it. Now, in my opinion, my first thought is that the moment of conception is the important time, and that once conception has happened and the baby is on its way, I feel that the mother should not have control over life and death regarding the growing fetus. It is an awful thing to say to a woman that she cannot control her body and she's not in control of the process and she just has to be a vessel. That's a terrible situation. I am thinking though that it is legitimate to see it this way, because I'm thinking the baby is an independent entity, and the mother is a vessel for that baby, but I don't see her as the owner of the baby. I think the mother makes a choice in whether to become pregnant, and if she makes that choice, then it includes allowing the baby to exist and be independent. I don't think the mother should have the right to kill that child in an abortion at any stage after conception, not even some time limit thing. And there's an incredible burden on the women. But it seems like nature has spoken and this is the way things are. And if a woman decides to have a child, then that comes with the obligation to treat that child as being independent. So yeah, the mother does have a choice, and if she chooses to have a child, then that choice comes with some obligations. It's a very difficult position for the woman to be in. But then I'm thinking from the man's perspective, he doesn't seem to have any say in anything to do with the welfare of that child. And if, for example, the man wants to have a child, but the mother doesn't, then she has an abortion. And he has no say in the matter. So the mother is regarded as the primary parent and more significant than the father. Now, in one sense, it obviously makes sense because of the biology we're talking about. But morally, I don't see how that can hold up. I don't see how that's a good thing to be doing. And I suppose that another way of looking at it, what if the father wants to abort and the mother doesn't? I think we have to just take the view that biology says how things are, and the woman does have control in the early stages of the child's development. It is, I suppose, simply the way it is. So on the one hand, the woman wants to abort and the man doesn't, mother wants and the father doesn't. Biology says the mother can do what she wants. So the mother is, in a sense, a more important parent. And if the father wants to have a child and the mother doesn't, then she can abort regardless, obviously. So he is essentially a lesser parent in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of practicality. He is simply a provider of DNA and resources and responsibility. So I'm wondering how the law should regard this. Should it be the case that the law simply respects biology and affords 100% of the control over the life of the child to the mother? Or should the law seek to grant the father rights over the life of the child, regardless of biology? It seems that we've taken the view in society that biology comes first, and that's why the mother can terminate a child's life when she chooses to, up until a certain date. The father has no say in events whatsoever. So I suppose the father makes his decision before conception, and he then has to accept how things are from that moment on. So I'm thinking that if the father has to essentially give up rights over the child from the moment of conception, that's the decision he needs to make, then it seems to me legitimate to say the same kind of thing applies to the mother, where if she decides to become pregnant, then she's decided at that point and has to live with that decision and should not be able to abort when she chooses. So the man has to decide before he inseminates her, and the woman has to decide from the moment of conception. That seems fairer to both sexes. The man knows what he's doing and decides to touch them. The same applies to the woman. And then the child becomes an independent entity, and the mother should not have the right to abort. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, as things stand at the moment, I think that abortion is not good to be doing. I think the baby is independent from conception, and the mother and the father have to decide before conception if this is the way they want to go. And if they decide to have a child, then that's it. Their control stops, and they're merely supporters of the child from then on. That, I think, is a better way of doing things. But as it stands at present, the mother has full control of the child up until 35 weeks or a number of weeks. And I don't think that's correct. So, yeah, I believe abortion is wrong in my opinion. Now, that's one thing. As regards the father's position in events, it seems at the moment if the mother wants to abort, then she aborts, and the father has no say. And the other side applies as well. If the father wants to abort and she doesn't, then she doesn't. I'm wondering how best to deal with this. I'm inclined to go with my initial thoughts of saying that on conception, that's it. I regard the baby as being independent, essentially, from that moment on. And so the mother shouldn't have the right to abort. And that's the end of it. I don't think abortion should be allowed. I don't think it's correct to do this. I think decisions regarding a potential child should happen before the child is conceived. So, yeah, that's my thoughts now. It would be good to hear opinions from people.